Okay, as you know, or if you haven't watched the other previous video, this is going to be detailing this Model Power twin diesel loco shed to kind of clean it up a little more. The few spots that I know of offhand, I need to re-glue this panel along this piece here to get that a little bit more secured. But there's also gaps along a couple of other pieces, here and there. So I'm thinking of taking just some styrene and putting it along the edge of the roof and here where the window is to kind of frame everything in just a little nicer and make it look better. And hide some of these spots that have pretty big gaps to it. The other thing is on some of the roof panels, they're not exactly tight there. So I'm thinking of taking some styrene, and if I've got some L pieces, I'll probably use that. But if not, I'll just put a little strip either along the roof there or the window that'll act as kind of a rain gutter to it. I also, since we're looking at the roof, want to get some drip lines from the exhausts, and then some of these panels, get them rust color that are molded details. And then I also want to get some of this edging cleaned up where there's still a gap as well. So pretty much a lot of gap filling in one way or another. It may just be that I put a piece of styrene in along the inner edge like I did with the corners and call it good. I haven't quite decided on that yet. But then the other thing is I want to get some paint into the grout lines and then get the glass in on the windows. Okay, I got some details put in, and I did these off camera just because of the time that it was taking to get things cut and that. So I ended up finding some extra pieces from a kit that I don't even know where or what it was, and ended up using some of these longer thin pieces along some of the edges to hide some of the gaps that are there. There are spots that some of it is out further, but it is what it is, and I don't think it looks too terrible. And then there were some L-shaped pieces to it as well that I ended up using in between each of the roof and window areas. I then also used another thin strip along the edge of it. It just was a little too much of a gap, and there still is some gaps in between it, but there's no way to really fix that since the roof has some raised edges on it. But to hide the gaps a little bit, I had some just white L-shaped styrene as well, and ended up cutting off about half of one leg of it and just glued it in right there. So it hides it to where, unless you're really looking for it, you're not going to see it. So that is the detail work that I've done on it. I do think I'm going to put some of this thinner styrene or piece that is from this kit and just have it going down to be somewhat as a downspout. So I may do that, but that'll come after I keep working on doing this to kind of put in the grout lines to the brick, but also kind of weather it to show that it's a little older. I'm going to show how I'm doing that on just a couple panels, probably this half of the building here, and then we'll just do the rest off camera for the interest of time. And all I did was took some of this ivory that I have and mixed it in this medicine bottle with just some distilled water. And that's just I'm essentially just making it like a wash. So we'll go through that quick on these couple of panels, and then we'll be back after that. All right, I've got the tire thing painted. Pretty happy with it. I did end up putting down some additional strips on the four corners and then at each peak, just to give it a slight look of rain gutters. And the next thing that I'm going to be doing, get everything in frame, is I've done this with a similar kit. It's actually the Model Power Warehouse that is floating around. And I'm going to take some of this soot weathering powder and just go on the edges with it. So that's what I'm going to kind of shoot for, just as a, give it a kind of a grime. I may test out this lighter color, just see what I think of it. that'll be all that I'm doing with the powders for now. Wanted to at least get the outer portion done first with the time that I have right now that I could work on it. So we will call that good for the outer portion, and I'll get some of the paints done up and start working on getting some of this roof rusted up a little bit. We're going to hurry and work on some of the rust on here just to show what I'm going to do, and then we'll probably do a lot of this off camera just because of how long it's going to take me to get everything done. So the colors that I used is light rust, orange brown, and then dark rust and they're all Vallejo. Or at least on camera, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep doing that, doing what I've been doing. I'll mix it up a little bit here and there, use the foam brush a little bit, paint a couple of them. I'm really liking this panel the most that I painted and then went back, or painted it all one color. That's a mix of the darker rusts, and then went in with the foam brush on top of it with the lighter colors. So I think that's going to be the panel that I try and emulate the most. But that being said, I'm not disappointed with these other ones either. All right, I have finished this building for the most part anyway. I do need to get the glass added in, but I'll get that done later on. Overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't think it was too bad. It looks worse in the camera than what it is, but I added some, maybe if I angle it just right, I did put some powder onto the roof of the building, and looking straight down, it's hard to see it, but if we turn it that way, that's a little better. So just did that, used the corner of this foam brush and just did some other little spots here and there of rust above the panels that I did as well. So that is that for this building. I'm calling it good. All right, it ended up not taking too long to find a spot for this loco shed that I'm just going to use as a warehouse facility. I had originally planned to have it overlapping both tracks, and actually did a little bit of changing and swapped this track out. However, I wasn't too convinced with that, and got looking at the Vulcan building that I have and realized that where it lines up the door that's here actually will line up with the big outer door, and figure that it looks a lot better with that to have those butted up together. And then this door can be for trucks coming and going outside of the building. And I'm really thinking that this is how it's going to be. So until I decide otherwise, this is the new home. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.